In this lecture, I'm going to demonstrate how to calculate Cronbach's coefficient alpha manually using Microsoft Excel. So here we have a hypothetical study where 8 research participants completed a categorical questionnaire, and that questionnaire consisted of 10 items or 10 questions. And the scale for the research participants ranged from 1, you can see we have a 1 here, to the highest possible score for any one question, which is a 7. And all the items were scored along the same scale, although the questions were different. So the first step to calculating our coefficient alpha is to calculate the variance for each item across, or each question across, all of the 8 research participants. And I'm going to put that value right in this cell, and I'm going to use the Excel command to do this. So I'm going to hit the equal sign. I'm going to type in VAR for variance, and I'm going to go type in the period and the letter P to return for the population. What this will do is it will consider the variance for all 8, and it won't divide the squared deviations by the degrees of freedom. I want all to be considered here. So I'm going to shift 9. I'm going to highlight all of these numbers that I wish to calculate. Shift 0, I hit enter, and now I have the variance for the first question across all the research participants. So I'm just going to highlight this cell, and I'm going to move my cursor over the bottom right hand corner until it changes to a thin plus sign. I'm going to hold the left mouse button down, and I'm going to pull the cells over and move the variance command and to calculate the variance for each question across all participants. The next step is to calculate the sum of all of these variance terms here, and I'm going to put that value in this cell right here. So I'm going to hit the equal sign. I'm going to type in the command SUM. I'm going to shift 9. I'm going to highlight all of these variances I wish to add up for the items. I shift 0. I hit enter, and we have our first term, and that term appears in the numerator in the second term for our coefficient calculation. So we've taken care of this one right here. Now we need to work on the denominator in this second term for this fraction. And the first step is to add up all of the items for each participant across all the questions, and I'm going to put that value right here. So I'm going to hit the equal sign, SUM, I'm going to shift 9, I'm going to highlight all of these scores, and I shift 0, and now I have the sum for the first participant. I'm just going to highlight this column, and I'm going to grab that bottom right hand corner and pull it all down. The next step is to calculate an average of these sums, and I'm going to put that value right here in this bottom cell. So I'm going to hit equal, I'm going to click average, I'm going to shift 9. I want the average of all of these sums, shift 0, and I hit enter, and I get 41. Now we do that in order to calculate the variance for the sums of each person collapsed across all the questions, and I'm going to put that value right here. So what I'm going to put in this cell is the variance of the first person with respect to the average. So I'm going to have to manually type that equation. So I'm going to hit the equal sign, I'm going to shift 9, and then I want to take the first value and subtract the mean, but I need to lock in that cell. So I'm going to subtract, $, shift 4, I'm in L, let me use uppercase, L, shift 4, another $, and I want L10. So I'm going to type in 10, I'm going to shift 0, close that, and now I'm going to shift 6 because I want to raise that value to the power of 2. And we have our variance for the first person. Now I'm just going to grab this bottom right hand corner, pull that down, and I have all the variances for all the participants. The last step here, and that last step will give us a value that we need to put into the denominator of our second term of the coefficient equation. And to calculate that average, I'm just going to hit equal, and I'm going to type in sum. I'm going to add up all of these values. I'm going to shift 0, and I'm going to divide that by 8. And we have a value of 71.75, which is our term, our S total squared. Now I'm going to have to calculate the coefficient using this entire equation and entering that in manually. And I'll do this piecewise here. So I'll start with the equal sign, and the first term, the I refers to the number of items. So I've got 10 items here, and I'm going to shift 9, and I'm going to put in 10, and I'm going to divide that by 10 minus 1. I can put in 10 minus 1, or I can just do that mentally. I know that's going to be a value of 9. So I'm just going to type in the number 9 here. I'm going to shift 0, and then I need to multiply that quantity by this quantity right here. So I'm going to shift 8. So the asterisk is our multiplication symbol. And I'm going to open parenthesis, and I'm going to type in 1 minus. I'm going to open parenthesis again, and I want to calculate the fraction of these two variance terms, different variance terms. So the one in the numerator is what we had calculated earlier. So I'm just going to click that value or that cell. I'm going to divide it by the one we had just calculated, the 71.75. And I'm going to shift 0 twice, and I hit enter, and we find that we have a Cronbach coefficient alpha of agreement of 0.88. So we have a very high coefficient here, indicating good agreement across the 10 items in this questionnaire, indicating good consistency. So this ends this video on using Microsoft Excel to calculate Cronbach's coefficient alpha.